फैन बंद कर दीजिए. Okay. Good afternoon, class. Today I had talked about the anti-cholinesterase. So today I'm going to discuss about its mechanism of action. Okay. Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, then yesterday I have covered about this anti-cholinesterase, about its reversible and irreversible. So yesterday I did not talk about the mechanism of action. So today I'm going to discuss about it. So as I yesterday told about that, anti-cholinesterase is an agent which inhibit the cholinesterase, which protect from the acetylcholine from hydrolysis. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss about the action of it. So the anti-cholinesterase react with the enzyme essentially in the same way of acetylcholine. So the carbamides and the phosphates respectively, carbamylate and phosphates are the uh, static side of the enzyme. So whereas the acetylate enzymes react with the water, extremely rapid and elastic sites in freed in a fraction of millisecond, where the carbamylate enzyme reacts slowly, and the phospholylated enzymes react extremely slow. Not not at all as shown in the figure, but it is noteworthy that the endophonium and tecrine act only to the anionic sites and do not form the covalent bonds with the enzyme. So the organ phosphates acts only to the elastic sites, forming the covalent bonds. So the half line of the reactions of the carbohydrates enzymes about 30 minutes is less than that of the synthesize of fresh enzyme proteins, while that of the phosphorides enzymes in day is more than the regressions time. Thus, the apparently reversible and irreversible enzymes inhibitions is obtained through the basic pattern in inhibitor enzymes, which interacts remains in the same. Now coming to the pharmacological action. So before going to this, the action of anticholinesterase are due to the amplification of endogenous acetylcholine. It's thought they are quantitatively similar to those of directly acting cholinesterase stimulus, whereas the relative intensity of actions on muscarinic, ganglionic, and skeletal muscles and the CNS sites varies among the different agents. So the lipid-soluble agents have more marked muscarinic and CNS effect, which stimulate the ganglia, but actions of skeletal muscles is less prominent. And the lipid insoluble agent produce more marked effect on the skeletal muscles and stimulate ganglia, but muscarinic effect are less prominent. So they do not penetrate CNS and have no central effect. So in pharmacological action, we have it is by into subtypes. So at first we are going to talk about the ganglia. So so local hydrolysis of acetylcholine is less important in ganglia. In respective of the inactivation occurs partially by diffusion and hydrolysis in plasma. So the anticholinesterase stimulate ganglia primarily through muscarinic receptor, which present here. So high dose it may uh, cause the persistence depolarizations of the ganglionic and nicotinic receptors, which blockade the transmission. And if we talk about the CBS, then cardiovascular effects are complex, where muscarinic actions would produce bradycardiac action and hypotension ganglionic stimulation, which will tend to and increase the high heart rate and blood pressure. So the action of medullary centers further complicated the picture. So does not ganglionic blockade with the high dose, thus the overall effects are often unpredictable and depends on the agent and its dose. So we have to look at the dose of the agents as we are taking. So if we talk about then skeletal muscles, then after treatment with cholinesterase and cholinesterase and which is released by a single knock impulses is not immediately destroyed, and it rebind to the same receptor within the diffuse act on neighboring receptors and activate the pre-junction fiber, which tends to repetitive fibering, twisting, and fabulating. So force of the contraction is partially cured, and the mastenic muscles is increased. Higher dose cause the persistent depolarizations of the endoplates, resulting the blockade of neuromuscular transmission, which tend to the weakness and paralysis of the muscle, and direct action of neohistamine and its congeners at the muscles in plates result in the augmentations of the features. And here is the other effect like this result from stimulations of smooth muscles and gland of the gastrointestine and respiratory as well as urinary tract and in the eye are described for acetylcholine. Now, if we talk about the uses of pharmacological action, then and we'll talk at first about the myotic, and second one about the myasthenia gravis, and third one we'll talk about the treatment of myasthenia gravis similarly. So let's come as myotic. In what are the important in glaucoma? So in glaucoma, myotic increase the tone of the ciliary muscle, as we know, and the splenical pupillary, which pulls on and somehow improve the alignment of the trabecular, so that the outflow facility is increased, and it may falls on the open angle glaucoma. So here pilocarpine is preferred myotic because the main what are the main aim of pilocarpine? Anyone? What are the main use of pilocarpine? Anyone can say me what are the use of pilocarpine? Okay. At the end, I want the answer of pilocarpine. What are the use of pilocarpine? So here the pilocarpine is preferred in myotic because the action is rapid and short lasting. About if we talk about it, will be long last for 4 to 6 hours, and also for 6 to 8 hours insulin is required, and even then it may fluctuate in between, and it will be diminutions of the vision, especially in dim light, due to the constrict people and spasm of accommodation and brown pain are frequently side effects. If we talk about the systemic side effect, then there will be the nausea, diarrhea, and sweating. And sweating may occur with the higher concentration of the eye drop. So the So the cyclohistamine 0.1% is used only to uh, supplement pilocarpine. Myotics are now third choice drugs used only as add-in therapy in advanced cases. However, they are effective in affective glaucoma. So here the pilocarpine along with other drugs is used with the angle closure as well. So if we talk about then, uh, it also used to resolve the effect of mydriatic after the refraction test. Okay. Uh, so to prevent the formation of addition between the iris and cornea, and even to break those which have formed due to iritis or corneal ulcer, etc. So here the myotic is alternate with the mydriatic. Okay, if you again in this slide, if you talk about the myasthenia gravis, then it comes from the myopus asthenia. So myasthenia gravis is autoimmune disorder affecting about 1 in 10,000 population due to the development of the antibodies directed to the nicotide receptor at the muscles in place. So it helps to reductions in the number of 3 nm polio receptors to the 1/3 of the normal or less. And here the structure damage to the neuromuscular junction. So this may result in weakness and easy fatigue ability to repeat the activity when recovered after test. So here the eyelid, external ocular muscles and facial muscles are generally involved first. So later limbs and respiratory muscles get affected, where the new histamines and congeners improve muscle construction by allowing the acetylcholine, which release from the pre-junction ending to accumulate and acts on the receptor over a larger area, as well as by the directly deprivation of the implant. Here you can see the picture.
Yes, sir.
And if you talk about the treatment of this, then treatment usually started with neohistamine, 15 mg orally 6 hours per day, and dosage and frequency is then adjusted to obtain the optimum relief from the weakness. So there will dosage requirement may fluctuate from the time to time, and there are often unpredictable period of remission and exacerbation. So here the So here the drugs have no effect on the basic disorder, which often the progression. Ultimately, it may not be possible to restore the muscles strength adequately with the anticholinergic steroids alone. So here the corticosteroid offer considerable improvement in such cases by their immunosuppressant action. So this inhibit the productions of NR antibiotic, and it may leads to increase in synthesis of NRS wherever the long term has problem it's on. So here the if you talk about then prednisolone 30 to 60 mg per day induce remissions and in about 30% of the advanced cases, and 10 mg daily or alternate day can be used for to maintain the therapy. Okay, so the other immunosuppressant have also been used with the benefit in advanced cases. Both both the cyclomin and azatropine are also inhibit where our antibody sensitized by the affecting the T cells, but the response of the former is slow in the onset. So while that to the later is relatively quickly, and it will long lasting for 1 to 2 months. And if you talk about the mystanic crisis, then it is characterized by the acute weakness of respiratory muscles, and it will be managed by the tracheal intubations and mechanical ventilation. So here the generally intravenously methyl prednisolone pulses therapy is given, while the anticholinesterase will withheld for 2 to 3 days, followed by their gradual reintroduction. And most patients can be weaned off with ventilations in 1 to 3 weeks, where the where if you talk about then over treatment with the anticholinesterase, if the dosage of anticholinesterase is not adjusted according to the fluctuation requirement, relative overdose may occur from time to time. So the overdose also produce weakness by the causing the persistent depolarizations of the muscles in place, and it also known as cholinergic weakness. So late case with the high anticholinesterase dosage required often alternately experience in mystagenic and cholinergic weakness, and this may leads to the crisis of the profession. So the two types of weakness required opposite treatment. They may be differentiated by the indroponium test. So the it will be injected with the indoponium, and if there will be improvement, then if there will be improvement, there will be that may lead to the mystagenic crisis. If there will no improvement or worsening, then there will be the cholinergic crisis. It takes like. If we talk about the diagnostic tests for Myasthenia gravis, then at first we'll test with the ameliorative test. So it is initially indoponium 2 mg is injected intravenously as a test dose. For the testing purpose only, it is given 2 mg. So if nothing on towards happen, then the remaining 8 mg is injected after 30 to 60 seconds, almost 1 minute, after 1 minute. So the reversible of weakness and short lasting improvement in the strength of affected muscles occurs only in the myasthenia gravis and not in other muscular dystrophy. So in case of indoponium is not available, the test can be performed with 1.5 mg intravenously with neostamine. So here the atropine pre-treatment may be given to block the muscarinic effect of neostamine. So here the two tests is given. One is provoctive test, which is the mystagenic are highly sensitive to tuberculosis, in which 0.5 mg intravenous caused the marked weakness in them, but effective in non-methanic. So this test is hazardous, facilitated for the positive pressures in respiration must be at hand before performing it. So this test is better not performed. Here the demonstrations of anti-NR antibodies in plasma or muscles by specimen is more reliable test. And otherly, there is post-operative paralytic illness and urinary retention. So this may be relieved by 0.5 to 1 mg with new histamine, which provide no organic obstruction is present. And other one is post-operative decoration, where the new histamine 0.5 to 2 mg of 30 to 50 per kg intravenously proceed by the atropine by or glycoporate of 10 kg to block the muscarinic effect and rapidly reverse muscle paralysis, which induced by the competitive neuromuscular blocker. And if you talk about the cobra bite, then it is cobra venom has the curer like neurotoxin. So though specific anti-venom serum is the primary treatment of neohistamine, plus atropine prevent the respiratory paralysis. And here, if you talk about then belladonna poisoning, then cyclohistamine 0.5 to 2 mg intravenous repeated is required in a specific antidotes for the poisoning with belladonna or other anticholinergic, and it penetrates the blood-brain barrier and antigenic both central and peripheral action. And if you talk about then Alzheimer's disease, then it is characterized by the progressive dementia. And here the AD is the neurodegenerative disorder, primarily affecting the cholinergic neurons in the brain. Various measures to student. Let's come to the pharmacotherapy of the organophosphate poisoning. So here the anti-cholinergics are easily available and extensive used as agriculture and household insecticides like accidental as well as suicidal and homicidal poisoning is common here. So local muscarinic manifestation at the site of exposure like skin and skin eye etc. occurs immediately and are followed by complex systemic effect due to the muscarinic nicotinic and central action. So some of the signs and symptoms are included here. Uh, one of them are irritation of the eye, lacrimation, salivation, sweating, tracheobronchial secretion, meiosis, as well as blurring of vision. And involuntary defecation and urination. If you talk another, then falling blood pressure, brandiocardio or cardio arrhythmias, and vascular collapse. Also, we talk about then there will be the muscular fasciculation, weakness, respiratory paralysis, central as well as that may be peripheral. So there will be the death in general due to the respiratory failure. And if you talk about the treatment, then it consists of four types. Like if we talk first one, then there will be the terminations of the further exposure to the poison, that may be due to the fresh air. Uh, Wash the skin, mucous membrane. Wash the skin and mucous membrane with soap and water. Gastric lavage according to need. And if you talk about second, then there will be the maintain patent airway, positive pressure respiratory if it is falling. And there will be supportive measures like to maintain the blood pressure, hydration, control of the convulsion with the jaundice, use of the diazepam. And fourth one, if you talk about them, there with the specific antidotes that we and like atropine, cholinesterase, reactivator, and there will be the coronary organo sphere poisoning. So if we talk about atropine, then it is highly effective in contracting muscarinic symptoms. But higher doses are required to antagonize the central effect, and it does not reverse peripheral muscular paralysis, which is a nicotinic action. So all case of anticholinesterase poisoning must be given atropine 2 mg intravenously repeated every 10 minutes till dryness of the mouth or the sign of the atropination appear, and up to 200 mg has been given administered in a day. So continued treatment with the maintaining dose may be considered for the 1 to 2 weeks. And second one, if we talk about then cholinesterase reactivators. So these are enzymes are used to restore the neuromuscular transmission only in case of the organophosphate and anticholinesterase poisoning, and the phospholylated cholinesterase react very slowly or not at all with the water. But however, if more reactive OH group in the form of enzymes, so they provide reactivating occur more than the billion times faster. Okay, so if we talk about the pradilozine 2 PM has positively charged quarantinely nitrogen attached to the ionic site of the enzyme, which remains unoccupied in the presence of the organophosphate inhibitor. So it's in enzyme end react with the phosphorus atom attached to the uh, static site. So the enzyme phosphates so form diffuse where leaving the reactivated cholinesterase. So it is rather contraindication in the carbamate poisoning, because not only it does not reactivate carbamylate enzyme, it has weak in anticholinesterase activator of its one. So the pradilozonamide is injected intravenously slowly in a dose of 1 to 2 gram. If we talk about children, 20 to 40 mg per kg is given. Another regimen is 30 mg per kg intravenously loading dose, followed for 8 to 10 mg per kg per hour continuous infusion till recovery. And there are the few limitations of use of enzymes in OPP, like there will be the reactivations of the phospholylated anticholinesterase is no longer possible if it has undergone the process of aging. Another is an effect in the carbamate poisoning. And third one, if we talk about, then there will the pradilozomide and obidozamine do not cross BBB and hence cannot reactivate the anticholinergic inhibitor in the brain. So other enzymes are obidozamine. It is more potent than the pralidozalamine and dictyl monoxamine, which is DAM, which is lipophilic. Okay, now let's come to the summary of the class. So we have talked about the acetylcholine, which is ACH, is a major neuromuscular transmitter, and we have talked about the two types of cholinereceptors, that is muscarinic and nicotinic. And also we have talked about the acetylcholine on different organs. Also we have talked about the cholinomagnetic alkaloids, and we have talked about the mechanism of action of anticholinesterase. Also, we talked about the Myasthenia gravis, glaucoma, and their management. And in Myasthenia gravis, we have talked also about the organophosphate poisoning and oxide. So, this all I have included. So, thank you, dear student. And if you have any query regarding any of the class that I have taken in part 1 and part 2, part 3, so you can also go through the YouTube link and you can listen the lecture. So please maintain your note, and if you have any query regarding any lecture, then please go ahead and